All right, let's start then. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar today. We're going to talk about TagoCore. Today, we're very excited about this new milestone. Thank you for your participation. I'm Fabio Rosa, the CEO and founder of TagoIO, and I'm here today with Mateus. Mateus is one of our experts working directly with TagoCore. We'll be recording this webinar today and also be open for questions at any time. So feel free to make questions for us. We're gonna try to address them as soon as possible, or at least at the end of the presentation. So let's talk then about TagoCore. So just to start, TagoCore is the system that we are just integrating. We have been working a couple of months, and now we are in a very good shape to introduce to you. First, let's talk about the part that you have today, and a lot of providers have somehow the IoT platform in the cloud. So what are the key challenges with the cloud? So some of them include latency. It's matter, of course, where you are located, how far you are from the server. It can take a fraction of a second, but still have a latency. There are costs with the connectivity that we don't pay with to the platform itself, but you may be paying to send the information through cellular provider or LoRa provider and so on. And in some cases, there are concerns with privacy and security. But still, Tago is working for cloud. Cloud is a very good way to go. It's easy to scale. Basically, there are unlimited processing capability in a sense that almost is not feasible for anyone to go there and get the whole capability available today. And also is very easy to centralize life cycle management. What it means that you can go and upgrade all your scripts, the dashboards, everything very easily when you go to the cloud. But you have two sides. So what we're proposing with the TagoCore is an extension of the cloud to something better by providing some analysis and intelligence close to the edge so that you can reduce the latency, you can increase the reliability, you can also, of course, at the end of the day, add intelligence and give more power to your devices. And by combining this intelligence, as you can see in this diagram, that the TagoCore will be close to the device, you can also have a better life cycle management. And also, depend how you architect this, you can have a distributed architecture. So you don't rely just one point. So you bring low data, raw data, and a lot of the processing done locally, and still you can get the benefit of the cloud. That's the architecture of the edge. Here you can see in the middle TagoCore. So TagoCore has data processing capability, data management capability, device management, and for those who know Tago pretty well, you know that you have the network, you have the connectors for several or hundreds of devices. So everything from there will be available here on the TagoCore. Then also have the settings and plugins. And Matt's gonna talk later about that in details. Okay, so you can see that there is a way to talk with the sensors in real time. When you install this TagoCore software, then you can get information, you can send information to actuators, communicate with equipment and local network. And on top of that, you have integration capability. You can integrate with your private cloud, your ERP CRM system, or bring your data to big data so that you can process this data offline, for example. And of course, you can integrate with TagoIO. There are a lot of configurations that you can do with the TagoCore. Let's focus on the first one that we're going to talk here today. You are, with the version that we're releasing now, you'll be able to install TagoCore as shown in the top left diagram here. That's basically have a TagoCore, receive information and control devices locally and send whatever you want. It's everything or just a little bit or just the summary of the data to TagoIO. But also you are able to perform other architectures. For example, you can get the TagoCore and install on your cloud system. For example, your all AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud. We're not going to focus on this area today. We're going to focus more on the edge today. Okay. So what is the formula? So why that's interesting for people to come and use TagoCore? First, it's free and open source. There is no cost with license. So you can download the software as is, you can modify, you can collaborate as an open source code, and you can use the way you want. Okay. Then you also can synchronize, send the data, use the actions with the TagoIO cloud. We're going to show you today how to do that. And you can complement and deploy a real commercial application by using TagoCore. So just a reminder, with TagoCore, you can manage users, grant access, and create your own portal with your own brand. So that's systematic approach, I think, is where I bring a lot of value. So before you go to the presentation here in 2 minutes, let me tell you at least one architecture. Again, you can do a combination of blocks, but let me tell you about this one, okay? So in this case, let's say you have TagoCore installed in a hardware, in this case, industrial PC, running on Linux or Windows, for example. You can have one or two or more. Then you can connect, centralize the data from the sensors that will be send the data to this TagoCore. And from there, you can send information up and receive information from the TagoIO. And then from the TagoIO that's managed by Tago, you can connect, of course, with the run. For example, in this case, you have all the users here in different levels, like the administrator, supervisor, and end users, visualizing the data as today. So today we have thousands of users and developers doing the top. TagoIO connect to TagoRun. Okay. Now we are given this possibility to connect with the TagoCore. So you can centralize and keep the data locally if you want, and then as needed, send this data to TagoIO. Just one use case here. Let's talk about agriculture. Okay, let's show the advantage of using TagoCore with TagoIO in a smart ag application. So very simple diagram here. You can see on the bottom left, you have the sensors. So these sensors, in this case, is using LoRaWAN. They are sending data to a gateway. And let's say that this gateway is able to communicate with MQTT. It will be able to send data to a local computer. In this case, it can be an industrial computer, like an industrial Raspberry Pi or other computer that you have on the site to store data locally. So again, there is no cost. You don't need to, if you don't send data to TagoIO, you don't pay for transactions, you don't pay for connectivity and so on. So you keep data locally, you process data locally very quickly, there is no latency. And then in this case, if there is no connectivity for some reason, you are still able to have your local farm operating correctly. Okay, then you can synchronize this operation with TagoIO. So you can have a lot of data locally with a lot of sensors. And then from there, from this farm, you program your actions and also your settings to send some of this data up to TagoIO. And here you have high-level algorithms. You can generate reports. create push notifications, and so on. And then, of course, you combine these easily with Tago Run so that your users that may be locally or maybe locate everywhere can access information from this farm. So that's one easy way to show you how you can use the TagoCore. So we have more information online. Matt is going to make an introduction, and they're going to present now how TagoCore works. I think it'll be much more exciting than these slides here. So you'll be able to find more information on tagocore.com. And also you have our community. So if you go to help.tago.io, you can find the section that we create for TagoCore. So before I go there with with Matt, sorry, let us do a very quick poll here. I'd like to know which sectors you see potential to use the TagoCore. I'm going to launch this here while we have Matt preparing for his presentation. So Matt, go ahead and start sharing your screen so people will be ready to see your presentation. So please go ahead and let us know, share with us, and then at the end of this poll, I'm going to share with everyone here the results, just to understand. You can pick more than one option. So basically what we made available here was options like smart agriculture, smart building, smart cities, energy sector, industrial sector, transportation, and of course others. Okay, I will keep this here a little bit more, and then I will share with you while Matt is going to make the presentation. So Matt, go ahead from here.
Okay, thank you, Fabio. Okay, so hello everyone, my name is Matt. I am one of the front-end developers here in TagoIO, and I'm mainly focused on TagoCore in the last couple of weeks. And today we're going to be covering pretty much everything about TagoCore. We're going to be explaining what TagoCore is, what it can do, its features, and also our roadmap for TagoCore. Now, before we begin, I just want to quickly summarize what TagoCore is and its advantages. So TagoCore is a free, fast, and open source IoT platform, so you can build your applications using edge computing. Edge computing, for those of you who are not familiar with, Fabio explained it very well, but just to give a quick summary, the advantages of edge computing is it's extremely fast because it is local, there's little to no cost, and it is very reliable in the sense that you do not need an active internet connection. You can just use a local computer as an edge computing station. And TagoCore by itself actually sort of inherits a bunch of advantages from edge computing because TagoCore is designed for edge computing. So when we were designing TagoCore, our main focus really was speed. TagoCore is built for speed. And to achieve this, we actually stripped away all unnecessary or actually non-vital modules in the application, which means that TagoCore can insert a bunch of data, more than 100 data points in just a matter of milliseconds. TagoCore also is extremely flexible because you can customize it and create scripts in pretty much any language you'd like. I'm going to be talking about scripting and analysis later on in the presentation. And also, last but not least, TagoCore can integrate with our own TagoIO cloud system, which is our cloud platform. So you can safely have your data here in TagoCore and sort of get the best of both worlds. If you think about it, you have the reliability and the speed of edge, and you also have the safety and the sort of backup of cloud. I'm going to be talking about the integration between TagoIO Cloud and TagoCore later on as well. Okay, now just before I proceed again, I just want to make something clear, is that everything that I'm about to show you here is part of the public beta version of TagoCore. As you can see on the upper left side, TagoCore is now on beta. And the way this presentation usually goes is I'm going to give a brief overview of all TagoCore resources for everybody that doesn't really or hasn't seen TagoCore yet. And then I'm going to jump to the new features, just like our last webinar. So for those of you who have participated in our last webinar, it went just like that. First, I'm going to show the main overview of TagoCore, and then I'm going to show the new features. And then in less than a week from now, I am going to be releasing this public version for everybody here and everybody that has signed up to use it in our website. And then you will receive a link to download the public beta version, just like last webinar. Okay, so let's begin. I think we're ready. So first off, here we are in TagoCore. I am running it in a local instance, and I currently am in the homepage. In the homepage, we can see the operating system. We can also see the network overview, which has all the network interfaces for my computer. We can also see the usages on the right side, right here. And we also have on the left side all the data regarding TagoCore and not the hardware. So we have the summary of the amount of resources that we have on TagoCore. We have also a very nice chart here showing how much data input per minute we are inserting into TagoCore. And we also have a data output per minute. I'm not going to be focusing on both of these charts right here, but it's just a good thing to know that they exist. And now I think it's a good idea for us to first explain some main concepts, because some people here are not familiar with the concept of devices, buckets, and so on. So let's start with devices. If we go over to devices right here, we have the list of devices, and we can create a new one right here on this Add Device button. And I want you guys to think of devices as a digital representation of a physical device of yours. So you create a record here for each physical device that you own. So let's say maybe you want to send temperature data to TagoCore. You would create a new device representing the physical device that you own. And you can associate a name to your digital device here. So you could put something like temperature sensor. And then you know that this temperature sensor is sort of linked with your physical sensor. Now, devices always are associated to a bucket, and a bucket is where you actually keep the data from your devices. So once your temperature sensor, continuing on the same line here, sends data, it would actually go through this device right here and end up in a bucket. So a bucket is where data from your devices is stored. So think of devices as sort of a pathway to actually insert data into a bucket. And a bucket can have data from many devices, but each device can only have a single bucket. And this is actually very important to know. We are going to be creating devices and buckets later on, but first I want you guys to really understand the concepts behind everything. Awesome. So I hope I was sort of clear on devices and buckets. And if not, don't worry, we're going to be coming back to those later on. Now let's talk a little bit about analysis. And this is a really powerful feature. Think of analysis as a way for you to implement custom scripts in TagoCore. And the good thing is, as I've mentioned before, TagoCore is very flexible, and it allows you to create custom scripts in pretty much any language you like. So to demonstrate this to you, I am actually going to be creating a simple analysis here. And I'm actually going to put the name as webinar, because why not? We are in a webinar after all. Just going to confirm here. And right here on the left side in my analysis, I can associate a binary executable path and a file path. So the way this works is, if I want to run a custom script in TagoCore in Node, for instance, all I would have to do is associate the node executable, the node binary here. And then in the file path, I would associate the first parameter for a node binary, which usually is a JavaScript file. And then once you associate both the binary executable path and the file path, TagoCore will create a command from the command line and actually execute your node instance with the design file path. And the way this works and why it's so good is because you don't need to just use Node. You can use everything that has a binary. So for instance, you could use Python or maybe Go or even C with a GCC compiler. You can just associate the compiler here, and the file path would be a C file, and then you can create custom analysis with the C language. And if your language or description that you want to build doesn't have a binary executable, you can always build a custom bash script, which in turn executes your application. So analysis by themselves are really powerful because you can run scripts in any language, and inside of that script, you can analyze data or maybe insert or even delete old data from your buckets, or maybe even manipulate records such as the device name, device tags, and so on. We're going to be actually coming back or explaining a bit more about analysis later on, but I do not want to take much time because, again, this is not really the focus of the presentation. We want to show you what's new in TagoCore. Awesome. So let's actually move on to actions and think of actions as a way for you to do something when something happens in the system. So we are actually going to be using action to create a little demo here, but actions, think of them as triggers. When something happens in the system, then you can do something else. I think that's the best way that I can explain it, but don't worry if you didn't get it yet. We are going to be using actions to send data to TagoIO Cloud later on, and it's going to be really awesome. Okay, so I think I've explained pretty much all of the main concepts here. Up on the top, I am going to be explaining the IO icon. And right here, we have the log system for TagoCore, which you can see all the logs from the application. Now, I've just started the application, so we don't have any logs here. But if you were running your application for quite a while and sending data, for sure, there would be a bunch of logs here. Awesome. Now, to continue here, I really want to talk about plugins, right? Because as Fabio mentioned before, TagoCore uses plugins to create additional functionalities. So if we click on Store here and let it load for a while, I mentioned before in the beginning of presentation that TagoCore is built for speed. And this is really the case. I'm serious. It is extremely fast. And the way we were able to achieve such high levels of speed is by stripping away all unnecessary or non-vital modules of the application. So all unnecessary or non-vital modules include, for example, an MQTT broker or Raspberry Pi, the integration with its GPIO pins, or even integrations such as TTN or ChirpStack. So the way we did it is we abstracted all of those integrations into a plugin store, and you can sort of install those plugins at your will whenever you want and uninstall them whenever you want as well. So for example, if you are looking to use MQTT in TagoCore, that's fine. All you have to do is install TagoCore, head over to the plugin store right here, click on MQTT broker, install it, and then you have a full-fledged integration ready for you. All you need to do is configure the parameters. Okay, one thing, I am going to be covering Q&A later on. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them right now. And at the end of my presentation, I am going to be covering those who were not answered. Okay, now the good thing about plugins right here is, as you can see, every single plugin in the page right now was developed by TagoIO, because up until now, all plugins were only able to be developed by us. But a cool feature that we are releasing this beta version is the ability for you as a developer to create your own plugins in TagoCore. Now, in this beta version, you are not going to be able to publish those plugins in the plugin store, but you will be able to manually load your plugins using the install local plugin button. So you can sort of build your own plugins and then install them locally right here. And in the future release, in the upcoming months or even weeks, actually, we plan on allowing you as a developer to publish on the plugin store right here, along with our sort of define our own plugins of TagoIO. I hope I was clear. So the main thing here is you can build your plugins, and to sort of build your plugins, you need a very concise documentation, because you need to sort of have a guide in order for you to build your own plugins. And to provide this to you, we have a documentation center, which is ready to go. So if I just switch tabs right here, this is the main page of TagoCore.com. So right here on the upper right side, we have the documentation center, and this is the main documentation for everything related to TagoCore. And we are going to be, right now, we don't have any plugin documentation on how to build plugins, but in the upcoming week, when we release this beta version of TagoCore, we will add a bunch of documentation articles here for you to actually build your own plugin. And in the upcoming weeks, we will actually improve a bunch these articles based on your feedback. But I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later on. So let's just head back to our application here. Awesome. Now, I've mentioned that you can build your own plugins, but let's actually switch the focus a little bit. Let's install a plugin from the plugin store. So let's just pick the freezer simulator right here. And let's just press install, because this freezer simulator, for those of you who are not familiar with TagoIO, simulates a physical smart freezer near me that is sending data constantly to TagoCore. So let's just press install right here. And once we actually press install, it's gonna download the whole plugin package, install in my TagoCore. And if I just close this, we can see that the freezer simulator is now installed. And instead of the install button, we have an edit configuration and an uninstall button. Awesome. So before this freezer simulator actually starts simulating a freezer sending data to our TagoCore, we need to edit its configuration because it doesn't know to which device it must send or where to store the data. So let's just press edit configuration. And once we press this, we are actually inside of the plugin configuration. And this is where we can associate the settings for the plugin. So the first thing that this plugin needs, if we take a look on the right side here, we have 4 fields that this simulation needs to operate correctly. We need a device ID, we need a freezer type, temperature unit, and update frequency. So the device ID is actually very easy for us to acquire. All we have to do is click on devices, create a new device, and we are basically linking the simulated freezer with our application. So let's put a name such as freezer. I think this is a good name. And I'm not going to be covering payload parser right here and encoder stack, but those fields are available in our documentation center. So in the if you guys don't understand exactly what a field does or what its purpose is, make sure to take a look in the documentation center. So let's just confirm this and create a new device. And now that we have created it, we need its ID. So let's just head over to the More tab. Let's copy this device ID, copy right here, go over back to the freezer simulator settings and paste the device ID right here. Awesome. So now we need the freezer type. And we have 2 options. One is called freezer 1 and 2. And if at any given moment during your sort of application building process in TagoCore, if you are feeling lost, make sure to take a look in the left side where the documentation for this plugin resides. So here, if we go down a bit, we can see that there is a settings section which says that the freezer type defines the data structure for the data, for the simulated data. So for us, it doesn't really matter which one we pick. So let's just pick the freezer one. And the temperature unit in our case could be Fahrenheit or Celsius, but let's just pick Fahrenheit. And for the update frequency, we want this freezer to send data every 5 seconds. And let's just hit save right here. And now this simulated freezer, which now has a device, knows to send data every 5 seconds. So it actually, during my talk here, it should have already sent data over to our device. And if we click on devices, we can see that the last input was 4 seconds ago, which actually makes sense because it's sending data every 5 seconds. So if we click here, we cannot see the data in the device. Remember, the device is only a pathway to your bucket. So let's just click on our bucket right here, which is associated to this device. And it's gonna open a new tab. And as you can see, the amount of data records is 18, which means there is data inside of this bucket. So if we head over back to variables right here, we can see the data from our freezer simulator. It's sending currently 3 variables: door status, compressor status, and internal temperature. So here you can actually see the data from your device. And for everyone here who is familiar with TagoIO and TagoCore, you may have noticed that this screen actually changed. It's actually a new feature that we have developed. Inside of buckets now, you are able to see all the data from your buckets. And this is actually a big improvement that we have done here in TagoCore, and it's gonna also be done in TagoIO Cloud in future releases. So in the previous versions, you could only see the amount of data for each variable. Now you can actually see the full data from your buckets. and you have an infinite pagination system right at the bottom here. So if you want to see previous data sent by your devices, you just have to keep pressing on the next button, and it's gonna go until there is no more data to be shown. And right here, we can see the variable, the value, the metadata for the variable, and also the time when it was sent. So that's pretty cool. Now we have this new feature which allows us to see the data from your buckets in real time, so you don't need to keep sending HTTP requests over to TagoCore's API in order to see the data. Awesome. So this is awesome because we can see the data from our freezer and it's working. Just one thing, it doesn't update in real time, so you do need to refresh the page if you do want to see the latest data from the freezer. I'm not going to do that, but just know that you have to do so. And let's actually take it up a notch because we have data in our buckets, but we actually want to visualize this data. Because one thing is for us to see the data in a table like this. Another one is for us to see data in a very beautiful dashboard. It makes all the difference in the world. So to achieve this, we need an action. And I talked a bit about actions in the beginning of the presentation. And think of actions as a way for you to do something when something happens. And in this case, we want to actually synchronize our local TagoCore data with TagoIO Cloud when our device called freezer sends data. And if we just click on add action right here, we must first set a name for our action. And I'm going to be setting it as TagoIO Cloud Integration. And the trigger will be variable because we want to trigger this action when a variable arrives in a bucket. And let's just confirm right here. And here we are inside of an action, and actions are very easy to understand. So on the left side is what triggers the action, and on the right side is what you can do once the action triggers. So let's start with the easy stuff. What we want to do is send data over to TagoIO. That's what we want to do. And so for the type of the action, let's select. So we have run analysis. So we can run an analysis when data comes, which is not the case. We can also send an HTTP request, which again is not the case, but we do want to insert data into TagoIO. So let's pick this. And now it's asking us for a device token. And so I already have prepared a device token right here in my sample application of TagoIO Cloud. So let's head over to devices. And I already have a freezer device ready to receive data here. Let's just pick him and copy its device token. Let's head back to actions and paste the token right here. Now you guys can see it because you might send data that I'm not ready for here, but just know that all you have to do is copy the data and paste it right here, and it should work normally. Now, to actually trigger my action, I have to select a device, and I'm going to select my local freezer device because this is what is receiving data from our freezer simulator. So let's just pick this device. And for the condition to trigger my action, I can say that when this freezer device receives an internal temperature equal to anything, my action will be triggered. So let's just save this. And I have created a successful action right here. So every time my freezer simulator sends data to my device freezer, it is also going to be triggering my action right here. And it's going to be sending data over to TagoIO Cloud. As you can see, my TagoIO Cloud integration action was triggered a few seconds ago. So it should be working normally. So let's go over to my TagoIO Cloud account. Let's go over to buckets right here. Let's click on show amount. And as you can see, we have 15 data points right here in our bucket in TagoIO Cloud. If we click here and go over to variables, we can see that we have 3 variables, each with 7 registers. So we have sent 7 times the data right here in those couple of seconds. Now, the main feature that I want to show you is not the ability to send data into TagoIO Cloud. That by itself is actually pretty cool. What I do want to show is how you can visualize this data by using this integration. So I have prepared a dashboard here, and if we click this, we can actually see the data from TagoCore in real time. That's actually very impressive. So from your edge computing device, no matter where he is sending data to TagoIO, and we can see this data in real time in this dashboard. And that's, in my opinion, really, really amazing. Okay, and that's the step one of our sort of goal here. And let's actually bump it up a notch again. So if we go back to actions right here, we have the TagoIO Cloud Integration, which is an awesome action that is working. But what if we want to do the opposite? So right now, we are sending data from TagoCore to our TagoIO Cloud account. And that works fine, that is working. But let's say we want to maybe send data from our TagoIO Cloud account over to a specific TagoCore instance. And that's a little bit trickier, but it is not impossible. We actually will provide a way for you to do that in this public beta version. And to do that, we need to create an integration with TagoIO Cloud, because we're actually doing the opposite of what we want to do. We want to receive data from TagoIO Cloud. So to achieve this, let's go over to our actions right here. And we have this button, which I told you I was going to talk about later on. So if we click this, we can actually create an integration with our TagoIO Cloud account. So all you have to do in order to receive data from TagoIO is sign in using your TagoIO Cloud credentials. I actually have already prepared my credentials here, a brand new account. So I'm just going to be inserting it right here. Tago.io, and then I'm gonna say or set my password right here. And I'm gonna sign in. Now, in my brand new account, I only have a profile. You may have multiple, and that's fine. Just pick whichever profile you would like to make the integration or create an integration in. I'm just going to be picking the one which I have, Matt. Just gonna pick this. And for the instance name, I'm gonna be putting something like TagoCore webinar, because why not? We're doing sort of this pattern, right? We're in a webinar, let's create an instance named webinar. And let's just start the integration. Awesome. So we are connected to TagoIO Cloud. And the first thing that you guys may see here is we are in a brand new screen. Up on the top, we have a connected status, and we can deactivate the integration by flipping the switch. We have the instance ID and the internet IP of my local computer, which I am not going to show you guys. And we also have the local IP, which is fine to show. So there it is. And we also have the profile, which we selected during the creation of this integration. Awesome. So let's see this on the other end. Let's now switch to TagoIO Cloud and see how this integration shows up in our dashboard or profile rather. So let's go over back to our new TagoCore instance. Let's close this old one right here. And just one thing before I keep going, keep in mind that this feature is currently not live. So we are going to be using a testing environment in TagoIO Cloud. So this is why we have this very strange URL right here. But don't let this bother you. In about a week or so, you will be able to use this integration live. I'm only using this because the feature is currently not live yet. And so when we create an integration in TagoCore and we associate a custom account and a custom profile, we can actually see the integration right here. We can select our name up on the top and click on TagoCore. And right here, we have an integration already. It says TagoCore Webinar because that's the name that we associated back there. It says that it is active, it is connected. The last connection is a minute ago, and it was created 2 minutes ago. So connection keeps refreshing to make sure that we are still connected with TagoCore. Awesome. If we click this, we can actually see the same data that we have in TagoCore. So we can see the name, we can see the internet IP, which again, I am not going to show, but we can see the local IP and the summary. So the summary is the same summary that we have on the homepage of TagoCore. So if we go back to TagoCore and click on home right here, we have the summary for TagoCore right here. And just something to sort of show you guys, our freezer is constantly pumping out data, as you can see right here. So TagoCore is updating in real time our data input because our freezer keeps sending data every 5 seconds. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, besides that, let's keep going here. Inside of our TagoIO Cloud integration, we can also see the computer usage of our TagoCore. So this is really powerful if you think about it, because you can see the data from your edge computing station anywhere in the world, because right now it is on the cloud. So since there is this communication, this sort of integration between TagoCore and TagoIO Cloud, you can see the data from one in the other. So that's really powerful if you think about it. Now let's do the opposite, because this is our goal. Let's not get distracted here. We want to send data from TagoIO Cloud over to our TagoCore. So to do so, to achieve this, we need to create an action. So let's go over to actions right here, and let's add a new action. And just like we did on TagoCore, this is the same process. We need to first set a name for our action. So let's say the name is TagoCore Integration. And for the type of action, we actually have a new one, just like TagoCore, called Insert Data into TagoCore. So let's just pick this, and we need to associate an instance of TagoCore, and we only have one, so let's just pick the one, and we need to set a device token of TagoCore. So all you would have to do is click on TagoCore, go over to devices, and usually you would create a new device called receiving data. Could be anything that you would like, but just a simple device for you to receive data from TagoIO Cloud. And then you would copy its token and go back to TagoIO Cloud and paste it right here. And the integration is done. If you create the integration, it will already send data normally. I'm not going to finish this process because we are running a bit out of time, and we are in a testing environment. So let's not get distracted with this. Let's quickly jump to the next feature, or the next topic rather. But just know that this would work if this action were to trigger. It would insert data into TagoCore. Okay, so let's go back to our TagoCore here. I hope you guys have understood everything that I sort of showed you guys. And if not, don't worry. This is going to be on YouTube where you can rewatch. And just before we start ending the presentation here, I just want to talk about the roadmap for TagoCore. So we are planning to release the ability for you to create your own plugins. And so as a result of this, we are going to be improving our documentation center a lot. So make sure you stay tuned into the documentation. If you have any sort of questions, make sure you go over there occasionally and see if anything changes. We're also going to be putting tips and tricks there. So that's really important for you to know if you plan on building plugins. In the upcoming weeks, we will also improve the action types or action triggers. Right now, the only way for you to create an action or trigger it is by variable. We're also going to be inserting a cron job here, so you can trigger your action on a schedule, for instance, every single day, every day at 8 a.m., or maybe even every third Saturday of a month. So everything that you can do with cron, you will be able to schedule it in an action as well. And last but not least, we do plan on improving this TagoIO integration right here. Currently, you have to physically send the data to TagoIO Cloud. We plan on sort of creating a system where you can visualize your TagoCore data without having to insert it in our servers. So those are the main three things that we want to focus on our roadmap. And last but not least, I urge you guys to know our community. So if we click on this megaphone right here, we are redirected to our community center. And this is actually much more than just a community. We are putting constantly new articles, documentations, tips, tricks, and you can engage with a bunch of people here, ask questions and talk to people, understand their use cases, maybe even help them if you already know the question. And we're going to also be putting exclusive content about features and articles right here. So this is a great way for you to know everything about TagoCore without having to go anywhere. So make sure that you go over to our help center, and we're going to be putting this link in the chat. So make sure you go over here and you follow the TagoCore topic, and then you can stay relaxed because you will know everything about TagoCore. So make sure you follow this topic, because since we are heading into the public beta version, feedback is one of the most important things that we can get, especially from you guys, which are very excited to, I'm sure, try out the new public beta version of TagoCore.
Yeah, good point, Matt. I just added a link on the chat for everyone to follow this specific topic.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so let's just open my Q&A here. I'm sure there is a bunch of questions. I'm done with the presentation, so let's just answer questions now. And Tulio says, beta version, is it already available to download? Not yet, Tulio. Just like our last webinar, the way we usually do this is we present the version, and then about a week from now, or less than a week, we then release the version. So make sure that you are registered as another early accessor in our TagoCore.com website, and also following our community here. So then you will get notified when we released in about a week or so. And then JSEC, how can I connect my device to TagoCore, MQTT, HTTP, other way? Actually, both. So TagoCore supports a variety of ways for you to connect. Natively, you can only send data through HTTP, a post request, but you can also go over to our store right here and use MQTT through our MQTT plugin right here. So how do you position TagoCore within the list of 600 IoT platforms available today on the market? What's your value proposition differentiator in this very competitive sector? Well, I'm sure Fabio has a better answer than I do, but one of the main things here is TagoCore is really built for speed. And we actually compare to a bunch of IoT platforms available today, and TagoCore, compared to those, is actually extremely fast. Besides that, we actually have a great integration system in TagoIO Cloud. So you can visualize your data in a much more clearer way than those in the current market today. It's actually extremely easy for you to customize the whole integration. I think just right here in these past 20 minutes, we've done 2 types of integrations, and I was presenting. So you can only imagine how you would do if you were just creating a simple application. You'll probably get a synchronization and your whole application running really in 5 to 10 minutes. So those are the main factors.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, feel free to keep going, Fabio.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I saw the other question as well from Rene. We can reply to him directly. There are other questions about the business model and so on. So just to be clear, we are focused here right now in TagoCore. And again, I don't know if people join us later, but basically, again, TagoCore is free. Okay, anyone can download for free. We have no plan at all to charge to use TagoCore. Okay, people can download, modify, and use. It's great. If they need to go ahead and generate the business by integrating with TagoIO and TagoRun to get more benefit, then of course we'll have our business model very clear there in our TagoIO/pricing. Also, he's asking about business partners and so on. Yes, you have a program for partners. If you go tago.io/partners, you can see our partners there. So feel free to contact us and see how you can work together. Okay, so very good question. Appreciate, Rene.
Yeah. Okay.
There are other questions, Matt, online as well in the chat. People are talking. I don't think we'll be able to cover all of them. Let's see from the last ones, right? Because I read most of them. Let me see here, something that we can bring for conversation. I think overall, I saw a lot of questions related to LoRaWAN, right? How can I connect my gateway directly? Can I connect X, Y, Z, and so on? So overall, you see this screen here, right? We are betting that this one will be something that's going to help a lot. And frankly, we are looking for feedback all the time. We want that make available more and more plugins done by our team and also by our partners, or frankly, by anyone. Okay, so plugins will be available. So here you see a bunch of them for some of the LoRaWAN network service that we know in our day by day. Okay, they're ready to go. You can click there and use them. If you want to connect directly with us without a network server, you can use MQTT option. Okay, there are other options as well. Okay, one thing that I really want to encourage is make a request, use our community. We have just started this one, but we have behind the scenes some customers and partners that are working and test as well. They don't make it public, but we want to make sure that the community is our focal point where people can make questions, encourage others, because that's really for you guys. That's why you created this, to make sure that people can use. And let's see what can be built with that. We have our ideas, our customers have ideas, of course, but there are other things that is going to really show up. So I really appreciate the participation. Yeah, I saw other questions about narrowband IoT. Yeah, today we don't have the plugins. The plugins are here in progress. We have some of them, but we are bringing these again to the partners. So we are working for some hardware companies, providers, consulting companies, application developers that want to make their application ready to go. One thing that I saw here is also a comment from someone say, where's the dashboard, right? So yeah, it would be great to have a dashboard here like TagoIO inside of TagoCore, right? But that's really not feasible because dashboards are huge, right? But again, we're gonna build plugins for them, right? If you use something like the Microsoft BI or other system, it will be possible to easily visualize the data, but that will depend on our system, right? If you run Raspberry Pi with just a little bit of memory, we may struggle a little bit, right? If you are running a Mac or a big computer, yes, you'll have more. So we want to keep this flexible, but we're bringing more and more options. So it's not going to be limited to this. This is the core. That's what we're doing is really the core. Right, Matt, anything else from our side or from anyone? I saw a lot of questions here. If you're not able to answer you directly, we are going to do this after we close this call.
Yeah, so just one thing that I would want to make sure, I see a lot of people asking, just to reiterate here, this version currently is not active for you to download. We will be releasing this version in less than a week or in a week or so. Make sure you stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so for those who are here, for sure you're going to receive email from us from this list to download the new version, the beta one, and then it'll be working besides this one for Edge. It's the same concept, but you can also run on cloud. Okay, so and by the way, you have it done already. It's great, but we recognize that there are need for additional things that we are adding to make sure it's gonna work in the level that we are expecting. All right, so we passed a little bit of time here, but I hope it's brought value for you who took this time today to attend. We will keep the team here up to date about the news. And I really, again, appreciate the time from everyone. And Matt, thank you very much for the great presentation.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day, everyone.